Hi, my name is Cameron Molly. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video, all that stuff. I normally do a lot of like beauty and like hair and makeup videos, but I wanted to introduce something that I'm hoping to do every month. I want to share what I read this month. So right now it is December 2020. In the beginning of the month, I started reading a book that was very realistic and took place in our like modern day world. And it made me sad and I didn't really want to read it. It just kind of like put a damper on me, you know? And it was a long book, so I couldn't just like power through. So my friend Carrie, hey Carrie, recommended that I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. This was actually part of her book club, so if you're interested in joining her book club, let me know. But so this was the book club book of the month, and I was like, you know what, let's see if I like it better than this book. So I bought it and I read it in like 2 days, loved it. But I am going to talk about this with all of the other books in the series that I read. I only read the first 3. There's a 4th book, and then there's a new one coming out soon. So the next one is A Court of Mist and Fury. And this one is a big book. This is a longer book than the first one. Just comparison. Which I love. I love good long books. So the 3rd book that I read is A Court of Wings and Ruins. So these are all one series, and I know I'm so sad that this book doesn't match the rest of them. I just wanted it to match on my bookshelf, but it's okay. So I wanted to talk about the 3 of these together because they are a series. So the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, I really loved the world. I feel like Sarah J. Maas did a really good job of like creating a whole new world, and it was just completely unrealistic that I loved it because I don't want to think about the world right now. I want to think about, I really love Farah, however you say her name. I think she is such a great protagonist. I think in this first book, you really get a sense of like who she is as a person, obviously, because it's like the first time you meet her, but she is such a great, strong female character, and I love her. And I love, as the reader, you always know what she's thinking. Even if she doesn't flat out say it, you're like, oh yeah, she didn't like that. But I just really loved this book, and I loved that so when I read this, I was like, oh my god, I love these characters, I love everything, but then I also felt like this book just tied everything up, like there was no loose ends. Then I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and this book took everything that I knew from this world and flipped it on its head and changed everything. I absolutely loved this book. It's just exciting. Like, I don't know any of these people, they're not real, but this was exhilarating. Again, characters, love the characters. I loved that it took everything in the perfect bow that is the first book and completely undid it, and this is what came out of it. And it was fantastic. And then the 3rd book, wow. But so in this 2nd book is when we see Farah start to like change her mind about a lot of things, and like as the reader, you know she's not happy, but also like she's like, oh no, I'm fine, it's great, everything's good, but the reader's like, no, you're not. Like, what? So I really did enjoy this book. So that's what I really love about the character Farah. You just kind of know her, and even when she's doing fine, you're like, oh, good for, like, yeah, she's actually good. But when she's like lying to herself, you're like, no. And like I said, it has like, these stories have adventure and great characters and very like fantasy oriented story, I guess, but it also has like really great love stories, betrayals. It was just really cool, and like you have to figure out the workings of the world alongside them, because like there are some things that the characters don't know and you don't know either because they don't know, so you're all trying to figure it out together. And wow, just wow. These books, these three gave me a very similar vibe to like Twilight, Hunger Games, Divergent, that whole era. And it just kind of put all of them together and tied it up and made one amazing story. And I'm so in love with these books. Highly recommend if you're into like non-realistic fantasy. This is it. It is, I would say, a little adult. So I wouldn't recommend these books to like 15 and under. I don't really think these would be appropriate. But I would say like if you're 15 and up, then it's probably fine. But I really, really, really loved the story and all that jazz. So now, completely switching genres and everything, I read We Were Liars. I saw this a lot on TikTok and I was just really interested. I wanted to know like what all the hype was, like what's this story about. So I picked up We Were Liars. It's a small book. So this is a 250-page book, which is a great, quick, light read. I'm going to say I did not really like it at the beginning. I thought this book was way too dramatic. Like the wording was too dramatic for what it's about. And I just wasn't really into it. So the main character is Cadence, which I love that name. My college RA, her name was Cadence. So I was like, oh, Cadence. But so it's about Cadence. She is living on a private island with her family in the summer, and it's near Martha's Vineyard, which I'm from Massachusetts, so that's like exciting to read a book taking place, you know, somewhere local around me. One thing I just didn't like the way Cadence talks, or Katie, as she's referred to Katie throughout the book, but her name is Cadence. I just think she was way too dramatic and proper for like a New England girl. I think that people in New England don't really talk like that, but maybe they do. Maybe it's just, I don't know. But I thought she was super dramatic, and I guess I don't like that type of writing. It was like in the first paragraph, in the first page, it was like, and then he shot a hole in my heart, and I was like, oh, that's so, what? She got shot? That's so intriguing. But no, someone just said something really mean to her and like tore her heart apart. And I was like, but then, so I was like trying to get myself to keep reading. I was so bored. And then I always I do this thing. I like flip through the back of the book to catch some like words, like keywords to make me excited and want to keep reading. And I should not have done this in this book, because there is a page of questions to ask for like a book club meeting. And I started to read it and I ruined the whole book for myself. So do not do that. Just read the book. Once I figured out what was going on, it was much more exciting and like made more sense. But I don't flip through and spoil the ending for yourself, because I think I would have appreciated it more if I read it and was like, oh. So I didn't like the first half of the book. I thought it was way too dramatic and kind of not my cup of tea. I don't think it's a bad book. It's just not my style. But then the ending was much more my style. I'm not going to give away the ending, but I will say that it makes the whole thing worth it. So one thing that I did appreciate about this book, the character Gat brings up white privilege. I would say about halfway through the book, he brings up white privilege and he compares himself to a character from Wuthering Heights, and it just I appreciated that it was brought up, because this is a very privileged white family that this story is about. And then Katie, after having this conversation with Gat, starts to be like, oh, this is like a big problem in our family, and starts to really think about white privilege for the first time, which I appreciated that this book that's targeted towards like younger readers is talking about something serious like white privilege. So definitely like this book, highly recommend. Definitely check this book out. I'm so excited about this book. This book is a 10 out of 10. This is One by One by Ruth Ware. I love Ruth Ware. I think she is an incredible author. I think she is genius. And so my grandparents got this for me for Christmas. Yes, that was like 5 days ago. But I did finish this book because it was just so good. I could not put it down. So Ruth Ware is a British author, I'm pretty sure. So some of the wording is a little tricky for me when I'm reading her books because she's using a different slang for different things. But so this book is told by two POVs, 2 points of view, and it is told by Liz, who is a guest at a chalet in the French Alps, and then told by Erin, who is the host at the chalet. And this book is so good. I don't want to tell too much about the plot because I feel like it's more exciting when you just read it and you're like, oh, so interesting. But this is probably my favorite book that I've read this year. I just love Ruth Ware. I love this story. I thought it was incredible. The theme, there was like an overarching theme in both of these books that's like, do you trust the narrator? So these are the 5 books that I read this month. I hope you check out some of these books. They were so good. And yeah, I think I'm gonna start doing this every month now because why not? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.